City Talks with Reuben Abati.
Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to another edition of your number one talk show, City Talks with Reuben Abati, on your number one lifestyle station, City 105.1 FM. On this show, we talk about stories of political and human interest that affect us as citizens of Nigeria and as members of the global human community. Today, we'll be discussing City People at 25 and media responsibility. And to guide us through this, we have a very special guest. It is my pleasure to welcome to this program here today, Dr.Seye Kehinde, publisher, founder, City People Group Limited. Seye Kehinde was born in Ishara, Ogun State, Nigeria. He first had a diploma in journalism and he later got a Bachelor of Arts degree in History and International Relations from the Obafemi Awolowo University, Ile-Ife. He began working as a reporter and as a library assistant with the Newswatch magazine. He also worked with the following newspapers: The Herald in 1998, the Insider Confidential newsletter as a senior correspondent in 1989. He later became head of the international desk of that newsletter in 1990. He became a senior writer with the Nigerian Tribune in 1991. And then, of course, he later joined the African Concord magazine as a staff writer in 1991 also. He left the magazine a year later when the Ibrahim Babangida administration proscribed the African Concord. He then moved to the African Guardian as an assistant editor, and he was with the African Guardian from 1992 to 1994. Subsequently, he was a member of the founding team of the News magazine as senior editor and later as editor-in-chief of the Temple magazine. He was also one of the founders of PM News, an evening newspaper. In 1995, he left the News magazine to establish the City People magazine, a celebrity journalism magazine and arguably the leading celebrity newspaper in the country today. If you want to be part of this conversation, you can call us on 0700-1051-1051. And you can also leave comments on WhatsApp 09099164403 and on our social media accounts at CT1051 on Zoom, Twitter, and Facebook. Seye Kehinde, thank you very much for joining us. You're welcome to City Talks with Reuben Abati. Hello, can you hear me clearly?
Thank you very much, my brother.
Yes, thank you very much for joining us. Yes. Okay, today we'll start by talking about City People, and then we'll go on to talk about the role of the media in national development. The media, both the mainstream, the social media, and other forms of it, having been at the center of the debate about the present and the future of Nigeria and what journalists should do. But let's start with City People magazine, which you established in 1996. How has the journey been, and what motivated you to move from mainstream print to celebrity journalism?
Thank you very much, Dr. Reuben Abati. I'm very happy to be on the program. The last 25 years has been very, very challenging, very, very tough. The media terrain itself has also been very tough. So it's been the grace of God that has really, one can say that has accounted for the survival of City People over these years. And it's been very interesting also because one has been able to see the growth of the business. It's been like the story of a baby that has grown from crawling to walking and of course to standing on its own feet. So it's been a very interesting journey. And then as to the second part of your question, talking about living mainstream for celebrity reporting, I've always been one person who has always been interested in the human content in reporting. journalism is all about the reporting human activities, reporting people. People has been at the center of what we do. So basically, I do not see it as a change. I just see it as a continuum, doing the same thing in a different way. Because at some point, you'll have to humanize your story. At some point, you have to put a human face to what you do. It's not just about figures. It's not just about statistics, but it's about how all of this would affect and impact on the lives of those who live in the city people.
Not so sure that transition is as easy and as smooth as you are trying to make out, because I recall you used to write, lengthy features. You used to write on oil and gas. You used to write on. You used to write op-ed. You started when you were still in Ife as a student on the pages of the Guardian, the opinion pages of the Guardian. You and your friend Shola Ojelade.
Oh yes,
and then
right.
you just moved from that level. You began to report parties, celebrities, movers and shakers. What is it that you call those people? The glitterati. So how easy was it to make that transition?
I should tell you a bit about my career.
Okay.
It was very easy for me because I've always been a student of history. I've always been a student of the personalities that dominate history. From my school days in Ife, as an undergraduate of history and political science, I was quite fascinated by the stories of all the great men who ruled the world at that time, Nigeria, Africa, and I've always loved the history of people. So for me, it's always been about human beings. It's always been about the personalities. But interestingly, I also believe that both are not in any way different. All you need to do is to look at the focus of what you're doing, and basically it's people. Of course, like you said, yes, I've written everything and covered every area you can talk about. I had an award for health reporting. I've written about business. I won the business reporter of the year several years back. So I've always been able to move from health, oil and gas, name it. I did a bit of literary reporting. I covered a lot of bits. International. I was an international reporter, or a reporter who covered international beats for This Week magazine that became This Day. So, there's hardly any area that I've not touched. But at some point, I felt that my focus has always been to be able to do a publication that will look at the lifestyles of those who live in the city. And that's actually how we came up with the name City People. People who dominate the city, people who live in the city and what they do. We mirror the lifestyles of celebrities in the city, basically. So for me, it's a continuum. I don't see it as, different. One different from the other.
It's one thing to be an ace reporter, an editor. And I know that when the news was established, the News Tempo, PM News, you were one of the founding fathers of those publications. So you were involved in business. But how has it been? Being on one hand a reporter, and on the other hand being a business manager. What are the challenges, the specific challenges you have faced?
Of course, the biggest challenge is funding. Getting funds to do what you desire to do. Of course, in those good old days, one was just a reporter, and all you needed to do was to mind the news, look for news, look for content, and all of that. But when you become an entrepreneur in the media, you have to find a balance between looking for stories and also creating time to look for funds to run the business. And of course, like my brother Bashorundili Momodu calls it, publishing is like a kalo business. You just put money into it, and what comes out really does not justify the efforts, the amount invested, and all of that. But of course, it's something that you have, you are passionate about, something you have passion for. So to that extent, you cannot say you're no longer doing. You cannot also just talk about the investments alone. You have to balance out the two, and at the same time, you also have to find a way of making sure that the business stays afloat, especially in a climate that is not too conducive for business. I mean, we've witnessed a lot of topsy-turvy nature of the economy. In fact, a few years back, we were almost knocked out of business by the economy itself, the unfriendly nature of the economy, the unfriendly nature of the foreign exchange and all of that. But of course, we kept at it. Basically, I think it's more of passion. Once you have passion for what you do, all the challenges you will begin to take one by one and find solutions to it.
Well, how much of a challenge has the social media posed to the print business in Nigeria? Because you notice that these days anybody with a phone can be a publisher, can become a blogger, can report stories real time, 24 hours. And then you publish the material in a magazine form. I see you've added a social media dimension to it. But will you consider the social media a threat to the print?
Oh, it's a big threat. In fact, it has changed the game. Social media has changed the game as we know it. And of course, it's a welcome development. At every point, things happen that change the game of the media. And social media has been one major disruptive factor in what we do now. But of course, the way to go about it is also to find a balance between being able to continue to print and make profit out of the print itself, and at the same time, how to also strengthen your involvement in the social media. Of course, people blame a lot of those who play in that sector of the media, I mean the social media and all of that. But I guess my own view is that with time, things will straighten out. With time, we'll get to, I mean, you can't just move like that from the print media to social media without having the challenge, without social media coming with its own challenges. Like you said,
City Talks with Reuben Abati.
Welcome back to City Talks with Reuben Abati here on City 105.1 FM. And our guest is still the publisher of the City People magazine, DrSeye Kehinde, who is celebrating the whole of this year, the 25th anniversary of the magazine, the celebrity magazine that he established in the year 1996. Now, DrSeye Kehinde, thank you for staying with us. You've been talking about the challenges that you have faced over the years, and now you were commenting on the challenge of the social media. But one major concern with journalism in Nigeria, with the media, in fact, globally, is the threat of what is called infodemic, or if you like, fake news, misinformation, the lack of accuracy in many of the reports. How much of a problem do you think this is, and how do you manage that, publishing a celebrity journal to make sure that fake news is kept out of it, particularly as some of these people, the people they call glitterati, fashionista, slave queens and all that, there is a lot around them that many people may not understand.
Yeah. Well, like you said, it's a big problem. The issue of fake news is a big problem. Of course, we also see lack of accuracy at times. But of course, we've always believed that our practitioners of the trade should be a bit careful before they push out information out there. Many are careful, but of course, I mean, we have a few who also make those little mistakes here and there, which get corrected. But I think the fact that those in the position of authority are also not saying, a lot to confront the incidents of fake news. Because if people don't get news, don't get the correct news that they need, I mean, there's a tendency for the vacuum to be filled by people who will provide alternative news. But having said that, I think it's a problem that we all have to face. It's a problem we all have to find a lasting solution to, because it's not only in Nigeria, it's a global problem, and there are challenges, and addressing those challenges squarely. Because once we talk about regulation, the tendency is there for the government to clamp down on free speech, clamp down on the media, and before we know what's happening, we are faced with another problem. So I think the issue of fake news is something we can tackle. It's something that can be tackled in a different way in terms of addressing specifics of those challenges. And like I said, it's not a problem that only Nigeria is facing. It's a problem that is global, and I think to that extent we need to come up with our own solutions to it.
Well, with regard to the role of the media in society and in the development process, one of our colleagues, Kadaria Ahmed, journalist, ex-BBC, ex-editor, Next newspaper, owner, founder of Radio Now, wrote a piece in which she was passing a message to every journalist in Nigeria. And she was saying, look, journalists have abandoned ethical values, that they have turned bandits and terrorists into champions. They've abandoned the rule book, and that we're part of the problem with Nigeria. And that we need to, redraw the moral compass in terms of our responsibilities to the people that we serve. Do you agree with that, that, this is an important message, that journalists are part of the problem and they need to take a second look at how they practice their profession?
Well, I think I agree with that to an extent, but I don't want to take the blame. I don't want the media to be, or the entire blame to be put on the media or journalists. Fine, to an extent, she's right that we have we do ethnic profiling, and but of course, my own worry really is that some of the issues that we're talking about, how come government is not addressing those issues? Because I mean, if you're talking about the specifics of banditry, criminality, and all of that is happening, how come we're not seeing a response in terms of solutions to these challenges? Because as it is, we're busy as media people, we're busy fighting ourselves, we're busy criticizing ourselves, that we're doing, we're not using the right words to portray what's going on. But interesting, not much is being done by government to find a lasting solution to the issue of this ethnic crisis and all of that. So I think if I get her right, what she's saying is that people are beginning to ethnicize the problem in terms of calling names or calling people. But then, to an extent, she may be right, but I think I'm more worried about the fact that not much seriousness is being attached to the challenges that we're faced with in terms of insecurity in the country.
Well, very quickly, recently there was a bill that was presented before the Senate of the Federal Republic, and that bill is saying basically that journalists who do not have media degrees should not be allowed to practice journalism. It's called the Nigerian Press Council Amendment Bill 2019, sponsored by Mr. Francis Agbo, and it has passed a second reading. Do you agree with that view that only graduates of mass comm or related disciplines should be allowed to practice journalism?
That's a serious one. Of course, I believe that we need professionals to practice journalism or practice responsible journalism. But at the same time, limiting it to being a graduate or limiting it to having gone through journalism schools and all of that, what would we now say about those who didn't go through all of this some of our forefathers who didn't go through this route and who practiced great journalism in those good old days. But what I think we should do really is that we should find a way of making sense of what we have now. Because whether we like it or not, I know it's going to be very difficult for us to insist that it's only journalism graduates or journalism graduates alone that should be allowed to practice journalism. And of course, what do you say about the new generation of bloggers, of writers, of social media influencers and all that? How do you take care of that new reality? So that's why I think there's a need to incorporate the two, because whether we like it or not, unless we have a way of correcting all of this, we're going to have a bigger problem on our hands if we try to segregate the professionals from the because even globally right now, citizen journalism is it. You can actually from your home or house practice journalism in your own, as long as you keep to the rules.
Well, Dr.Seye Kehinde, let me ask you this. I mean, celebrity journalism is often criticized on the grounds that it promotes people with doubtful ethical or moral values. And that in that case, what Kadaria Ahmed was talking about the media creating the wrong types of heroes could be relevant in this regard. Most of the people we see in celebrity journals are either showing off their clothes, or they are showing off their mansions, or they are showing off, just wealth, the sources of which in every instance in most instances you may not be able to explain. So how does celebrity journalism help to uphold values, to set agenda, rather than just promoting people who want to show off?
Well, like you said, it's a big problem actually. In a society where our moral values have become so degenerate that you can't really verify the source of wealth or source of the resources that we see, and to the extent that many of those people you talk about are people who dominate the scene today. How does the media begin to should we say investigate, or should we say try as much as possible to dig deep to their past and all of that? It's a big problem, really. It's a very, very big problem. And it's not just celebrity reporting alone. It's about reporting basically, because everything still comes down to the kind of person you are talking about, the person's past, and even at when elections draw near, the media also has a way of trying to investigate again some of the candidates, their past, but it's almost impossible or difficult to do, because what people how far can you go in terms of getting or digging deep and getting facts as to the kind of person that we get to report on a daily basis.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr.Seye Kehinde. Well, we'll now, keep our lines open so that other persons can join us. We've been discussing with the publisher of the City People magazine, City People at 25, and also the role of the media in the national development process. And he's here to take questions and comments. I have on WhatsApp a question from Yemi Adeogun from the UK. And he's asking you, what has been the effect of COVID-19 on business, considering the fact that there's also an entertainment side to what you do as a journalist and as a publisher. What have you learned? How have you been able to cope?
Thank you very much. COVID-19 really affected activities last year. Of course, just like you said, there was not much to do. No activity, no party to cover, no even for the readers, they couldn't come out, we couldn't circulate, and all of that. And it was really very choking. And I recollect that I had a discussion with you at that time on your suggestions as to what we can do or how we can. And of course, that was what led us to strengthening our online. And to that extent, we did a lot of digital publishing. We still do. And that was actually the saving grace, because for about 2 to 3 months, we could not sell on the street. We could not print and sell on the street. And in most of the cases, we also didn't have content because nothing was really going on anywhere. Everybody was at home and there was lockdown. So it was very devastating, and it set us back a great deal. But of course, we understand why.
Okay, our lines are open. If you want to be part of this conversation, you can call us on 0700-1051-1051. Or you can leave comments on WhatsApp 09099164403. And on our social media accounts at City1051 on Zoom, Twitter, and Facebook. Looks like we have the first caller on the line. Hello? Hello? We lost that. Well, who is next?
Hello, doctor.
Yes, hello. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. Your name and your intervention.
You have a titular on the line. Congratulations to City People Magazine, DrSeye Kehinde. Good afternoon to you. Yeah, I'm a fan of your paper, and I appreciate that. I've been to the office many times at Allen before you move to your new place. But my question is this, number one. Why is it that all the time we celebrate only musicians, we don't celebrate young students who have performed very well in the exams, people who have invented good things in science and the rest? I think we should be looking in that direction when we talk about values, and we are not even celebrating these people, young people. That's number one. Number two, I want to hear your opinion on even the politicians in the ownership of media houses, whether it is television, radio, and newspaper. The damage they do to the society in order for them to pursue or protect their own political interests. That's true. Then finally, just recently, Kankara boys were abducted, and we heard a senior journalist like Reuben Abati and you, who is now the speaker, the mouthpiece of the president, he came out and said just 10 boys were abducted. That was deliberate disinformation. And again, we heard when Akeredolu, the governor of Ondo State, said criminals should leave the bush, the reserve for forest reserve in Ondo State. He came out and again said, Fulani people should be evicted. And when people deliberately do this and they are working for the government, do you think they are not even fueling this fake news or the information or spreading of or dissemination of information that could bring about discourse deliberately? Good afternoon.
Hello? No, don't go yet. Hello? I hope he's still there. Did I hear him saying that Reuben Abati is a spokesperson and that he said only 10 boys were abducted? You are mixing it up. I left that job, some years ago. I left that job 2015. You mixed it up. But Dr.Seye Kehinde, you had him. If you could just respond.
Let me quickly respond to the first two. I don't quite understand the last point he was trying to make, but the first one, I agree with him that we don't do enough of celebrating people who are young people, like students who do well in their areas and all of that. I agree with him that we need to step up on that, so that it's not just entertainers alone that we get to celebrate. We celebrate people who are doing well in other parts. Then, of course, the politicians owning papers and all of that. I guess not much of that is happening now. Maybe in the past, you had politicians setting up papers for their own, but that was way back years ago. Right now, you have a lot of professionals who have taken charge of the media and they're doing their bit. But of course, the very last one, which he spoke about, I didn't quite get him about the Governor Kehindes and the other person. But I think that the media, we're trying our best. I mean, we're part of the society, and it's been quite challenging being able to stay afloat in a situation that is in the situation we found ourselves in Nigeria today.
Okay, looks like we have another caller on the line.
Hello, doctor.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon. My name is Ambrose.
Who?
Good afternoon. Ambrose, I live in Mowe.
Okay, thank you for joining us. Please go ahead.
I greet Kehindes.
Thank you very much.
Before I even make my contribution, what the last caller was saying was that DrSeye, a journalist like you,
Okay.
he wasn't referring to you.
Okay.
So that was why is it that when journalists get into government, they begin to defend government unnecessarily? So that was the question that he asked. And he came up also with the case of the Katina kidnap, where DrSeye also, though he mistakenly mentioned what's his name now, Adeshino. But I think he was referring to DrSeye. Yeah, away from that, I want to ask, why is it that when people like these governors and defense ministers, when they make statements, they are not seen as hate speech. But when opposition or the ordinary Nigerian make statements, they see them as hate speech. Because I observed that these top politicians, they are the ones that divide Nigerians the more. Come to Mowe here where I live, you see Malam selling beans. You see Malam selling fruit. You see Malam mingling with everybody. Nigeria, especially in the southwest here and the south generally, we are very accommodating. But the statements that come out of these top politicians, they are usually, And I also want to lay emphasis also on this issue that Titi Lokwe mentioned. We don't reward excellence. We don't reward brilliance. We don't reward people who are, clever. We reward people. Look at this show that goes on TV, this yellow colored show. Look at the other one that they say is the ultimate and all of that. Look at how much they go home with. So what message exactly are we sending to these children that, they go to school? Because you hear children who are very clever, they tell you there is no need going to school. After all, if I go to school, I cannot use my certificate for anything. So can I please appeal to journalists, particularly those who have the ability to begin to reward them academic excellence? Good afternoon.
Well, SK, I'm sure you heard him.
That's a very good point. I will note that. I've actually noted that, and I think we'll start doing something about it and encourage our colleagues to also look in that direction. Because quite frankly, there are a lot of young people who are doing well in the academic sphere that we need to encourage, we need to celebrate and all of that. So I quite agree with him on that.
We have more callers on the line, but before we take the next caller, let me acknowledge the fact that I can see on the screen in the studio here Samuel Chukwuka, all the way from Enugu, Professor Kemi Rotimi, Evamo Yemi, Bumi Bankole, Yemi Adeogun, all the way from the UK, Sheun Joseph from City People, Olabode Shounmi, Lekon Odunowo, Joseph Bukola, and all of you out there who are part of this conversation. Thank you very much for joining us. We take our next caller. Hello? Hello? Hello, good afternoon. Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead. Hello?
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
All right, thank you very much for the enlightening program. All right, hello, sir.
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
All right. I am Nancy from Ipotun. My question is this. In our society, there is a lot of news that is going on from the traders and people of the society. My expectation is that the journalist body will be clear all this type of news. If you want me to give some example now, in this Nigeria today, some people still have it in their phone that Buhari is dead. 55 people die in Lekki, many things like that. So maybe all those things happen in another dimension. But my expectation is that our news body should come with a original fact of those events. Not that in Nigeria will be hearing this and that. Another one is this. In this country, we always say somebody go to school doesn't see work. What of the people that went to learn practically in a particular place? So are they not supposed to be employed as well? Because I can see in this society, we always say people go to school, graduate, he doesn't have work. I never see any document that said that if you go to school or you are a graduate, you must get to work under government automatically. And we have a lot of brilliant people that they don't even go to more school. If they can use a wood to design anything. So we have a lot of people in Nigeria, not only graduates, that we need to see to them. We are wasting a lot of talent. Thank you very much.
Okay, SK, I'm sure you heard him.
Yes. I quite agree with him that we need to encourage a lot of talents. We shouldn't waste talents, and we should put in place structures that will encourage and celebrate some of these great guys and ladies who are out there doing well in their sphere of influence.
Well, he also raised another question about what the media is doing to check the menace of misinformation and uphold the accuracy of news.
Yes, we're working on that. I believe that that should be corrected. I agree with him that the media should also have, especially the traditional media, should have in place a structure and a network that would ensure that what we all push out are correct versions and correct information that will help the society.
Okay, thank you very much, Mohammed Jamiu Abubakar. Mohammed Abubakar, thank you for joining us. We'll take the next call out there. I saw the... hello? Okay. Your name and then your intervention, very quickly.
Yeah, Dr. Reuben, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
And good afternoon to your guest.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Mr. Darlington speaking. My question is twofold. Most of the media houses are owned by private individuals, and most of them are politicians. Is there any way any journalist can uphold the tenets of the profession while working on this, while working for these politicians who own media houses and who have political interests? Is it possible? The second one is this. The Lagos-Ibadan press are known to be vibrant. We know how they fought the military. We know how they fought Jonathan. We know what they wrote about Jonathan. But with what is happening now, the same press have gone on holidays. We no longer have those critical inputs about bad governance. And I believe if they can criticize Buhari half of how they criticize Jonathan, we will not be where we are today. So, is it, or do I want to believe that the same Lagos-Ibadan press, instead of being the watchdog of the society, is now the protector of a region and the government? Good afternoon.
Over to you, DrSeye Kehinde, publisher
Thank
City.
you very much. I want to slightly disagree with the last speaker that the Lagos Ibadan press that have gone to sleep I guess they're also very, 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 very critical of government. I read editorials, I read stories, and I see that the media, not even only Lagos by the press alone, have been very critical of the activities of government, especially over the insecurity issue, over the ethnic issue, calling for restructuring and all that. I think, without mentioning name, one of the leading principals in Lagos did a serialization of its editorial on restructuring and all that, and they took clear positions and all that. So they're still very, very critical. They're still very, very vibrant. I don't think that they've gone to sleep. At the same time, I also don't agree that majority of the media houses in Nigeria are owned by politicians. We also have media houses owned by professionals, even TV stations owned by professionals who are not politicians. But I think that all we need to do is to keep at it, to keep taking on those issues and telling governments and telling truth to power. I think basically that's what we need to continue to do.
Well, well, he talked about the interests of politicians who own media houses. How do journalists manage to walk the tightrope?
We've also in the history of the media, we've also had media houses owned by politicians who have also been very vibrant in their practice of journalism. Because even if you go back to the history of journalism in Nigeria, you find that many of the media houses, the early media houses, were owned by politicians. I mean, the Owls of this world, the Nnamdi Azikiwe's of this world, even Alhaji Jakonde that we're talking about. These are all politicians that had clear-cut views about politics and all of that. But that doesn't stop them from being critical and being honest when it comes to taking positions that affect the larger majority in society. I think I understand what he's trying to say, that there's a likelihood of some of the politicians who own media houses trying to color. But we've also seen that, I mean, in the past, some of the media houses have also tried their best. Even Concord was owned by Chief M.K. Abiola, who at some point went into politics and all that. So you can't really say that you have so many media houses not having links of their proprietors to politics. But of course, in most of the cases, there's been a clear-cut line between ownership and the management of those publications.
Well, we'll take our next call. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon to the guest speaker. Yeah, this is Boluwatife from Ikoton. Yeah, I really want to say this, that if anyone is to be blamed for the misfortune or the misarrangement in this country, I really want to say it's from the local government. That is, if anyone says the president Buhari is the one, I really cannot say. If you look at it critically, or if you look at it very well, you see that the president can't divide himself into the states in which we have in this country. He has to distribute the assignments to people, and the people he assigns the assignment to, how well and how good are they doing the job? Good afternoon.
Hello? You heard him? Hello?
Yes, I did.
Yes, good.
Yes, I think I agree with him to a good extent. But the bit I'm not comfortable with in some of the comments that we've had so far is the fact that the media is being made to look as if we are not doing enough to report what is going on and taking what I would call an unbiased view of what is happening. But I think the media is doing a lot. Because if you read the editorials of most of the papers, they are very critical of government, very, very critical of government. And they point out the way to go, they point out the fault. And so I think that the media, fine, we might have our own shortcomings here and there, but then I think the bigger picture is that the media is still as vibrant as it should be.
Okay, we'll take a few more calls before we wrap it up. Yes, your name, your location?
Yeah. Hello, doctor. Yeah.
Yes, thank you for joining us.
Yeah. Actually, I was actually did not answer my last question I asked earlier, but I have an addition to it. Now, well, how does he rate the communication strategy of the president, especially when the president has two spokespeople who are from their own constituency, two senior journalists like that, number one. Then how do you now ensure that there's no overlapping function between these two people? That's number one. Number two, how do you now rate again the communication strategy of the president himself? It doesn't speak to the people. So we continue to encourage this kind of thing in a democracy where you have issues all the time and the people need to know what is actually going on, hearing it from the else's mouth. Good afternoon.
Hello? Yes.
My comment on that is that I think the presidency has its own, the current government has its own style, which it has adopted in terms of having two gentlemen who speak for Mr. President from time to time, and I guess they've been able to structure how they go about it. But the bit I think I share and I agree with the last speaker is the fact that we don't get to see the president address us. We don't get to see the president hold media briefings like before. We live in an age where we need to constantly have Mr. President talk to us, brief us, and tackle some of the questions that would come his way that would not that his spokespeople would not be able to tackle the way he would handle it. And of course, merely seeing Mr. President appear on TV or appear on the various networks would also give a ray of confidence to Nigerians that actually Mr. President is in charge of what's going on. That's why you see some of the comments people make. People say things like, "Oh, they're not aware, they're not sure Mr. President is aware of what's going on," and all of that. It's the way a particular governor recently said something like that he knows that Mr. President has not been fully briefed. And I mean, it's because we don't get to see him talk to us that we're going to assume that perhaps.
Hello? Hello? DrSeye Kehinde, are you still with us? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, well, very quickly before we wrap it all up, the celebration of City People at 25 is year-long, from January to December 2021. Why are you celebrating for a whole year? You know, is there going to be a major event, or you've done it this way because of COVID? Okay.
There'll be major events in the course of the year. But like you know, we're starting this year on a very slow note because of COVID. Not much activity is going on. The venues have all been closed, and the government is talking about not holding big events and all that. And usually our events are usually big. Most times when we have events, you have a lot of people attending. And of course, when you talk of celebrating 25 years of City People, you're going to have a whole lot of people who want to associate with us. So what we've done is to see whether we can keep the big event towards the end of the year. But at the same time, we also need to let the product, which is City People, benefit from the fact that it's 25 years. So what we're going to be doing series of little events here and there. We're going to be doing publications that will take us back to city people 25 years ago. And of course, reminding people of the stories we did, the great stories we did, and also the personalities that are in the year 2000. But I also need to chip this in. The fact that some of the awards celebration we've been doing, we've also been taking care of education there. Because city people has taken its own part. As you know, we have entertainment as part of our structure, and we have taken it upon ourselves by promoting young people. We have promoted a lot of young people, both in entertainment and in the other sectors. And we've provided the platform for them to celebrate them. And we're going to be doing a lot of this as the months roll by.
Well, thank you very much, Dr.Seye Kehinde, for taking time out to join us on City Talks with Reuben Abati on City 105.1 FM. But just before we go, we have this advert to wrap it up.
City Talks with Reuben Abati.
Well, once again, thank you very much, Dr.Seye Kehinde, for joining us on the program today. And we also want to thank all our callers, listeners, and those who reach out to us on Zoom, Twitter, and Facebook. Remember, the conversation does not end here. You can reach out to me on my social media account at Abati1990, both on Instagram and Twitter, and at City1051 on all social media platforms. For those of you who just tuned in late, no need to worry. You can visit our YouTube page, City1051, to watch the entire show. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And don't forget also to tune in next week at noon for another exciting edition of City Talks. My name is Reuben Abati. The show was produced by Adedoja Allen, Abiodun Odunton, Ayodamola Oludara, Oluwaseun Adetitun, and Olanrewaju Onipede Jr. Have a great weekend and join us again next Saturday.
City Talks with Reuben Abati.